It was after school in Roosevelt High School. All the students left the school to either go home, go to their school clubs, head home, or stay with their friends at school a bit longer. Well, except for one person. Her name is Lillian. She was actually going to study for an upcoming exam in the library for a while until she goes home. Lillian is a straight-A student who already has 2 or 3 colleagues invited to their college school. Lillian has a plan. Once she finished high school, she is going to be one of the colleagues, but she is going to research on which one best suits her the best. Once it was getting late, Lillian grabbed her things and walked out of the library. It was getting late as she was walking home. She was almost home until she spotted something in the alley. It was 2 men that were holding some type of gun. Lillian's body was shaking. She slowly started to back away, slowly, until she stepped on a can. Lillian's body stopped and looked at the 2 men that were holding a gun. "Krang, we located the one we've been looking for," one of them spoke as they turned to face each other. "Yes. Let's take her to Krang," the other one said. They started to march over Lillian. She backed away, wondering what's going on. Before the Krang could do anything to her, the lights went out all of a sudden. Lillian heard some footsteps and guns being fired. She was gonna run until one of the Krang grabbed her. She turned to face him, only to be met by a robotic face. She screamed. Of course, with a knockout in a few moments, Lillian fell to the ground and looked up to see who rescued her. But she couldn't see her savior's face or who they looked like. Once they heard a police siren from a distance, Lillian's savior disappeared into the night. The police arrived once they saw Lillian and the robot that were trying to kidnap her. Before the police could take Lillian, she noticed something on the ground where the light bulb glass was at. She went over there and examined it. "A ninja star?" she thought. She put it into her backpack. The police took her and asked her some questions about the scene that she was in. "So you're telling me that robots want you for some reason, and all of a sudden you've got rescued by someone?" "Yes, officers." The police wrote down notes. "Did you see what your savior looks like?" "No, sir. I couldn't see what they look like. It was too dark." The police wrote down and put his notebook away. "All right. I'll investigate this and let your parents know what's going on," he said and opened the door for her to get in. "But from now on, I'll take you home." Once the police officer took Lillian home and told her parents about the situation, she went into her room. She walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind her. Then she set her backpack down. She pulled out the ninja star that the savior left behind. Ninja star? In New York? Lillian thought. Why are there ninjas in New York? She looked out of the window into the night sky. My savior is a ninja? The next day at Roosevelt High, Lillian couldn't stop thinking about what happened yesterday. The robots and her savior. As she walked through the hallway, she couldn't help but think about her savior and wonder if they're gonna come across each other. She still kept the ninja stars that were left behind. She went into her classroom and started the exam. Lillian didn't seem too worried about the exam after that study she did. She studied about a week to help her remember the answer. After the exam was done, the students walked out of the room, except for Lillian. She was called back by her teacher. Her teacher's name is Miss Lewis, one of the teachers that had been keeping a close eye on Lillian and her work. She knew that Lillian would have a good fortune in her hands. "Lillian, could you come here for a sec?" asked Mrs. Lewis. Lillian goes over to her teacher. "Lillian, you've been doing so well with these tests and exams. We're so proud of you." "Oh, thank you," said Lillian. She didn't know what to say other than a thank you. "So the other teachers and I wanted to show you a company that is getting touches of smart people," said Mrs. Lewis. "We'll be hoping that you'll be able to join us." Before Lillian could say anything, Mrs. Lewis hands her a paper of the location of the company. "Great! I hope I'll see you there. Now I must go now. I have to meet a few teachers." With that, she left the classroom. As Lillian got home, she told her parents about what her teacher said to her after the exam was over. Her parents thought it over and think that it would be a good idea for their daughter to attend this and see how this goes. They told their daughter that she can go, but Lillian had a feeling that something wasn't right. Lillian made it to the location that her teacher told her to meet her there. She knew something wasn't right at that moment, but she saw her teacher and Mrs. Lewis. "Lillian, I'm glad you've made it," she said. Lillian took a step back from her teacher before she could say anything. Mrs. Lewis placed her hand behind her back and pushed her forward. "Come, there are people waiting for you." Lillian didn't know what to do, but she nodded. Once they are both inside, they continued to walk down the hallway. Mrs. Lewis opened the door. Once the door was open, Lillian's eyes widened. The robots that she saw yesterday were here, and there were so many of them. Lillian quickly turned to face her teacher. "Mrs. Lewis, we have to run!" However, Mrs. Lewis grabbed her shoulder, which startled her. "Mrs. Lewis?" Instead of responding, Mrs. Lewis dragged Lillian into one of the cells. Lillian started to shout and squirm out of the teacher's grasp, but it was no use. Then they put her into the cell. Once the cell closed itself, Lillian started to bang onto the door, but it was hopeless. She couldn't hear what her teacher or the robots were saying. She slowly put her back onto the door and hugged herself. "I shouldn't have come here," she thought. She would have listened to herself once the red flag was shown. It's been a week since Lillian disappeared with her teacher, Mrs. Lewis. The news is all over New York City of the disappearance. Lillian's parents went to the location where their daughter was, but it looked abandoned. The police are looking for Lillian, but they don't know where her location is. During Roosevelt High School, April O'Neil knows Lillian because they take some class together. Once the principal told the students during the school meeting about Lillian's disappearance. April knew something was up. She found Mrs. Lewis a bit creepy to her, but she was nice to everyone and cheerful. But April knew that Mrs. Lewis was keeping an eye on her most of the class. It was a warning sign to her. April might have suspected that Mrs. Lewis must have taken Lillian since she heard that she had to stay in class. But she didn't want to jump into conclusions. Once school was over, April decided to hang out with the turtles in the lair. When she was walking in, she was greeted by them, except for Mikey, who was watching TV. Then the news came on, which only caught Mikey's attention, since the other brothers are making conversations with April. "We interrupt this program because a report of a disappearance of Lillian has gone missing for a week. If there's any information about her disappearance, let the police know as well as her parents, as they are desperately waiting for the good news about their daughter," said the news reporter as they show a photo of Lillian and the video of her parents getting questions. "Hey, dudes," Mikey started, Isn't that the girl that we saved? They all look at the TV. You guys know Lillian? April asked. Well, sort of. We saved her from the Krang as we were doing our night patrol, Donnie explained. April was now deep in thought. I think the Krang wanted her, she said. Why do you think of that? Leo asked. Because from what I've heard around the school, Lillian has a pretty good scholarship. They would have used her for something. Then we better find her, said Leo. Yeah, good luck with that. We don't even know where she is, said Raph. We can start by where she disappeared to, suggests Donnie. I can ask her parents where the address is, April added. Then it's settled. We'll rescue her, said Leo. Lillian is sitting on her bed in her room that the Krang put her in. She has been in this cell about a week now. There was no helping arriving any time soon. She hoped that she can go home to her parents and go back to normal before Mrs. Lewis betrayed her. The cell opened up and revealed the Krang that came and got her. She had no choice but to follow them. She tried to escape from them, but she realized how many they are in the place. Lillian followed them into the same room every day this week. She doesn't know what they want from her, but they wanted her to make something. Something that she couldn't tell by blueprints written from Krang. All Lillian could do was to guess what the words mean, and hopefully she can get out of here soon. She doesn't know much about machinery, but the Krang wouldn't let her go. Lillian always looks up to see what it looks like, some kind of liquid. She couldn't tell what it is, but she doesn't want to find out what it does. It is connected to the machinery. She wonders what this does. She also noticed that she wasn't the one who was working on this machine. There was a man that she didn't recognize. Before she continued her work, an alarm went off. All the Krang in the room were wondering who sounded the alarm. Since they're all distracted, Lillian took this opportunity and escaped. Stop the one who is trying to escape from Krang, Krang ordered. The Krang started to march while some shoot her. Lillian dodged their guns and hid behind the desk. Unfortunately, one of the bullets caught the glass and it started to break. Then, the liquid ooze started to fall on Lillian. She felt her body starting to change and her appearance. Her skin started to turn into gray fur, and she started to panic about what's happening to her. The Krang surrounded her as she transformed into a mutant creature. Once they saw Lillian was done transforming, the Krang took her back to her cell. Lillian took a good look at herself. She saw that her clothes got ripped during the transformation. Why did this have to happen to me? She asked herself. She wondered if she could go home like this. Would her parents understand her situation, or do they even want her? Lillian went to the corner and sat down. She pulled her knee up to her chest and hugged herself, wondering the worst thing that could happen. The turtles made it to the location that April found out the address thanks to Lillian's parents. They used their ninja stealth mode to make their way into the Krang hideout. The Krang noticed the turtles and set the alarm, which caused them to hurry and rescue Lillian. The turtles make their way to the security room where they see cameras in every cell room. Raph and Leo block the door where the Krang are coming from, while Donnie and Mikey are looking through the cameras. Guys, look! It's April's dad! Donnie called. Oh, great. But what about the girl? Asked Raph. Donnie used the technology to lock the door and searched through the cameras until they saw a mutant gray fox. The brothers turned to look at each other. You guys don't think that we're going to have another mutant friend? Mikey said, smiling. It has to be her. She almost looks the same, said Donnie. All right, we're going to do the same for both Kirby and Lillian, said Leo. Donnie, Mikey, you save Lillian. Raph and I will save Kirby, he ordered. The brothers nodded and followed what their older brother just said. Meanwhile, Lillian is in her cell. She can hear the sound of gun shooting thanks to her new ears. She can hear some voices that she doesn't recognize. She's over here, Mikey! Lillian got up and saw two turtles, one with the orange and purple mask. Mikey looked up from his brother and saw her. Hey there! Lillian doesn't know whether she could trust them or not, but she saw some Krang behind them. She shouted, Behind you! Mikey turned and saw the Krang. Booyakasha! He shouted and started to attack the Krang. Keep them busy, Mikey, Donnie called. Lillian looked down at the window and saw Donnie. She felt like she knew him somewhere. Donnie looked up from the controls. Don't worry, we'll get you out of here. Almost there. The cell door opened. Let's get you out of here, he said, and turned to his younger brother while protecting Lillian. Come, Mikey, we're leaving. The three of them ran down the hallway. Donnie pulled out his T-phone and dialed Leo's number. Leo, we got Lillian. Did you get April's dad? No, the Krang must have moved him. Let's regroup to the security room, said Leo. Once everyone regrouped in the security room, Leo and Raph met Lillian. All right, now that we have Lillian, we have to go, said Leo. What about April's dad? Donnie asked. Don, we don't have time to find him. The Krang already knows we're here. We also have to look after Lillian, Leo explained. Donnie sighed, but sadly agreed. He gets ready to open the door so they can escape. Meanwhile, Lillian thought how they know her name. She was going to have to wait because they are busy finding the Krang. Then, all of a sudden, the Krang grabbed her shoulders and she screamed. A sigh hit the Krang in the face, making the Krang let her go. Raph picked up his size. You coming or what? Lillian nodded and followed Raph. All of them made it out just in time. She was relieved that she was finally out, but now what is she going to do now? She can't go home looking like this. The turtles looked at Lillian. Excuse me? I know you have questions. We'll answer them the best we can, but you're going to have to follow us, Leo told her. I know you don't trust us, but you're going to have to. We won't hurt you. Well, except for Raph here, said Mikey, laughing a bit. Raph smacked Mikey on the head. You're not helping. Can I at least know your names? Lillian asked. My name is Leonardo. Leo is fine. And these are my brothers, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey. I guess I don't really need to tell you guys my name, but how do you know? We'll tell you the details once we head back to the lair, said Donnie. Once the turtles made it back to the lair with Lillian, where they met Master Splinter, she started to ask them questions, and the turtles tried their best to give her the answer that she needed to hear. So, you don't know why these Krang are after me? Lillian asked. Leo nodded. And I can't go home? Her ears fell, and she knew she couldn't go. But where will I go? You can't stay here, said Splinter. You are not a threat to either my sons and I trust you. Lillian thanked Master Splinter. There is a room where you can sleep. My son Donatello will show you, Lillian looked at them. Thank you, all of you, for everything. Donnie showed Lillian to her room. There was already a bed and a room with a blanket and a pillow. There was also a nightstand with a lamp on it. This room used to be a guest room for April in case she wanted to stay the night, he explained. Thanks, Donnie, said Lillian. Donnie gave her a smile in return before he left the room. Wait, are you the one who rescued me, like a week ago? Donnie hesitated, but replied, Yes. Oh, thank you then, Donnie, said Lillian. You're welcome, Lillian. I'll leave you alone. I'll let you know when dinner is ready, said Donnie. Lillian nodded at his words. The purple masked turtle left Lillian alone in her new room with her thoughts. It's been 3 days since Lillian started to live here. April came by and gave her new clothes for her to wear since her old ones got ripped. She hasn't come out of her new room where she was staying. The turtles are worried about her. Leo kept on checking on her and talked to her, but he doesn't want her to come out of her room. Meanwhile, Mikey came into her room and gave her food and made a conversation with her to make her feel better and more welcome. But she wouldn't come out of her room. Before Mikey could go into Lillian's room, Raph stopped him. What's the point in staying? She's not even coming out of her room. Raph, Lillian is having a hard time with her new life. Give her time, said Leo. Time for what? In her room? Her thoughts? Raph talked back. Leo and Raph started to argue. Donnie hears their argument and comes out of his lab. He saw Mikey was going to bring Lillian dinner. He hasn't started a conversation with her since they rescued her. He decided to give his younger brother a break and hopefully start a conversation. Like Leo said, they had to make Lillian comfortable. Here, Mikey, I'll take it to her, said Donnie, grabbing the pizza out of Mikey's hand. Mike didn't mind and went back watching TV and his pizza. Donnie makes his way toward Lillian's room. He stared at the door and knocked on it. Hey, Lillian, this is Donnie. Can I come in? I brought you dinner. He walked in and saw Lillian sitting on her bed with a book in her hand. He didn't know what to say to her. I brought you pizza. Lillian replies with a thank you and sets the book onto the nightstand. Mind if I sit down next to you? He asked. She nodded at him. Donnie sat down next to her on her bed and noticed the book she was reading. So, what book are you reading? It's a fairy tale about a girl who was transformed into an animal and soon found love who was also turned into an animal. Then, the more time they spent together, they'd have feelings toward each other. I'm not done reading this book, but I'm curious on what happens next, Lillian finished. Oh, that's a nice story. Did April bring you that book? Donnie asked. Yeah, I asked her if she could bring me a few books to read so I could keep myself busy. My thoughts. Your thoughts? Lillian didn't say anything, but turned around and nodded. Donnie figured out what she meant by her thoughts and gave her a sad look. You don't mind staying here with you? Lillian looked at the turtle and shook her head no. Would you mind if I read it with you? He asked. Sure, but I'm okay if we start from the beginning. I don't mind, said Lillian, sitting closer to Donnie. Over time, the two are sitting on the bed together. Lillian read back and forth between chapters to give him a break when reading. Soon, they both enjoyed their company. Later, they finished reading the book. Lillian closed the book and set it down on her lap. Wow, that was an amazing book. I loved the ending. It was a good ending, said Donnie. Even though the girl wants to go back home, she decided to stay with him for the rest of her life. I should tell April we're done with this book when she comes. Yeah, I should probably get going. You should eat your pizza before it gets cold, said Donnie. Wait, Lillian stopped him. Can we do this again sometime? Donnie gave her a smile and said, Yeah, we can do this again. If you need me, I'll be in my lab. Thank you, Donnie, said Lillian. The next day, however, Donnie came by and hung out with her. Until one day, Lillian finally got out of her room. Leo, Raph, and Mikey all looked at Lillian, surprised that she finally came out of her room. They knew that Donnie was hanging out with her for a while. Maybe he got something out of her. Lillian looked at the turtles and asked, Have you guys seen Donnie? He's in his lab, said Leo, pointing to where his brother's lab is. Right there. Lillian smiled at the turtles. Thank you. Can we hang out later, if you guys don't mind? Not at all, said Mikey. Maybe we can play games, if you like, while eating pizza. I will like that, Mikey, said Lillian. She made her way toward Donnie's lab. She walked in and saw him working on his blueprints for his upcoming project. Hi, Donnie, Lillian spoke. Donnie turned and looked at her. Lillian, I thought you wanted to stay in your room. Well, I changed my mind. I want to hang out with you before I could go hang out with your brothers, said Lillian. Donnie smiled. I'm glad. Soon, Lillian and Donnie hung out in his lab. She also explores his lab and likes to see what this turtle has made. She was fascinated by his work. Later, Lillian said she's going to hang out with his brothers so she can get to know them even more. And that's how Lillian made the best decision in her life and soon fell in love with a mutant ninja turtle, like in the storybook that her and Donnie read.